Hi, I'm Tyrone. Like your shoelaces, you tie your own. Today, how to turn this uncooked beef ribs into this cooked beef ribs. I'm cooking this for a mate who lives just down the road, and they were most impressed because the bone pulled right out. First thing you want to do is make sure you've got a clean cooking environment. Open up the pack and trim off the fat cap. Your rub doesn't really stick to the fat cap, so get it going. One end you'll notice is better than the other end. There's thicker meat, and the other end has a vein of chunky fat running through it. But there's plenty of intermuscular fat throughout the entire rack, so get rid of the fat cap. There are many ways of doing this: cutting up a tab and taking off a section, or, a little bit quicker, stand it up and cheat. Slice down. There are benefits of doing it either way. Standing it up takes off more meat. Unless you're really good. I want to make you feel better about yourself, so I'm taking off a little bit of meat with this as well. These will end up as tender baby daddies, so leave the membrane on the back, because this might be the only thing holding it together at the end. Then what you want to do is grab your Vegemite. Yeah, you wouldn't hear that said in an American accent. Learning something already. Vegemite is a lightly salty but thick yeast stock. Less is more. Spread it so thin that it slightly browns the surface of your meat. That will then help the next spices attach to the meat. Those next spices, in this case, being salt, pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. With the salt and pepper, crack that fresh over the top. It doesn't need to be super fine. In fact, a little bit of crunch is not a bad thing at all. With the paprika and garlic powder, the way that I tend to keep it even is to use a tea strainer to help spread it. That way you can get a nice even coat everywhere across the top. Because you can so clearly see where you have and haven't gotten, using this strainer is a good way to go back and patch your gaps as well. One noticeable absence is any chili-based spices or heat of that kind. I'm cooking for a mate who was sweating from a store-bought mild salsa on their tacos, and that was the only spice. So, they can't handle much more than just this little bit of paprika. Leave it for long enough for the spices to be absorbed. For me, I didn't want to do this in the morning, so I threw it in the fridge overnight and took it out in the morning. I took it out both of the packet and to my smoker. I would much rather take it out of the packet than leave it with that nice industrial plasticky taste. I've got my smoker consistently at about 120 degrees Celsius or 250 F at the thermometer on the lid, and this gives me about 105 or 220 at the height of the grill. Yes, that is quite a discrepancy. The temperature should really join a union and demand equality all throughout. As the hard taskmaster that I am, though, I've fired temperature for much less than unionizing. I've got my smoker burning with both River Red Gum and a little Taz Oak, both the prevalent local hardwoods that Google assures me are safe for food. That being said, to make my smoker burn cleaner, I char the wood I'm using first. You can see the angry white smoke pluming off the top. You don't want to eat that. And burning it off is a good way to get rid of it without making your smoke hotter. Hotter fires have greater combustion, meaning less smoke. Also, control your temperature using fuel rather than airflow. Smoke is just like Vegemite. You want just enough to see that it is there, any more, and it's all you'll taste. When you're almost ready to put a log on, put it on the side of your firebox that your fire isn't, to heat it up. You always want 1 log as coals, 1 log being burnt, and 1 log warming up. Right, this is about 6 hours in. Everything's looking good. Time to wrap. If you know how to make a beef broth or stock, brilliant. If you don't, subscribe. I'll make a video on that later. Clip your alfoil down to a chopping board, and it's time to wrap. While I do have a black person name, I can assure you it's not that kind of wrap. There's all sorts of debates about what you should use to wrap your ribs, or even if you should wrap your ribs. I'm using alfoil because it's what's available. Because I've used it once, I'm now stuck with it for the rest of time, and my ego won't let me change ever. This is the power of online forums. Make a little bowl around your ribs and spoon in a ladle full of hot beef stock, then wrap it tightly. You're not boiling these ribs. You don't need more than about a ladle full. Then, back on the grill for about 3 more hours, which means 9 hours in total. Also, make sure your water pan is full. Now that it's wrapped, your meat's not going to be absorbing any more smoke, so you don't need to use pre-charred wood. Only make sure you still have a consistent temperature. 3 hours later, take your ribs off and throw them into a cooler. Don't you dare cut them now. The internal temperature is about 95 degrees Celsius, and water at that temp is looking to get the heck out of there. It's like an angry lady. Any excuse, and it's not going to stick around. She's not going to stick around. The water's not. You get what I'm saying. If you cut into it now, you're going to have dry leather ribs. Take the cooler to the back of your motorbike. Make sure it's firmly fastened. You don't want that coming off the back at 100 miles an hour. Then, the ever important step, boop a kookaburra on the beak. And head off to your mate's place to share. As I said, these are cooked for a mate. These spent roughly 2.5 hours in the esky, slowly coming down in temperature and slowly not letting the moisture escape. How good is lane filtering? I like that lane filtering is legal. Motorbikes are way more fun than any other vehicle on the road. Believe you me, I haven't tried every other vehicle on the road. Forgot where I was going with that. But, as I said, cooking for a mate, driving out to their place. Yeah! Get a load of local traffic. Ugh. Right. Now that I'm here, take the cooler inside. This step is fairly self-explanatory. Time to take a look. Yep. They look like ribs. Time to cut them open. Perhaps a touch overdone? Still, moist, juicy, barky, smoky. And, as promised, these are tender baby daddies. There were some pretty amazing sides to go with this, cooked by my mate and his wife. Well, my mate's wife. She's also my mate. And these ribs were thoroughly enjoyed by all. I mean, just look at them. How can you not enjoy beef ribs? One of my sisters is a vegan. She doesn't enjoy beef ribs. It's okay. I'm not allergic to tofu, but I just choose to not eat it. You tell me who's missing out. No, really, YouTube prioritizes the content of those who have more comments, so you tell me who's missing out in the comments down below. Back to the current topic, though. The bone pulled right out. It didn't fall out, it had to be pulled, or dragged, kicking and screaming. Like someone watching this video towards the subscribe button. Well, that's how I imagine it. But for real, there's plenty of cool stuff upcoming. I reckon my next video will be on pulled pork and I like to think I can give you a few tips. A modern twist on flavouring and cooking barbecued porks, just like I like to think I gave you some tips in this video. So come back and maybe learn something new again next time.